For seconds out, pleasure to be in the company of Dev Sahni in Riyadh ahead of the Esports World Cup alongside Itauma versus White Boxing and Nick Bull taking on Sam Goodman as well too. Dev, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good, mate. I'm feeling good. And by the way, seconds out. They're hiring, so it feels like you need a shout out. So hopefully you get someone good. There's a lot of good reporters out there. So and you can spread the load a little bit because you're doing all the work at the moment, mate.
I'm doing a lot of work. Don't mind doing the work, but we certainly could use someone else to lighten the load a little bit. So we're looking forward to those applications coming through and the interview process as well. Bit weird being on the other side of an interview and interviewing them for a job. Imagine we did it like an interview like this. That'd be a strange one, wouldn't it?
I feel like that's how you should do it. You should do it behind a camera.
But that's how you did your wedding, didn't you? You did like a whole load of boxing influence sort of thing.
So it's on my Instagram. We did mate, I'm just a fucking, I don't know what I'm swearing, I'm just a bit of a weirdo when it comes to this stuff. So like, thankfully Mrs. Sahni is, very, very understanding, very supporting. So when I suggested for our wedding, which was many years ago now, for the poster thing to make it a fight poster with me on one side, her on the other side, and various rounds to kind of timetable the day, she was bang up for it. So it was good. We had little name cards around for everyone as well. Yeah, bit of a weirdo really, aren't I, to do that?
It's a little bit cheesy.
It's not even like I'm a fighter and that I do it like that. I just really like boxing.
Very cheesy. But the question this week is whether Moses Itauma is matured enough to take on Dillian White. What do you feel how do you feel the matchup will be decided between the two heavyweights?
How will this matchup be decided? Moses Itauma is young, he's quick, he's powerful, he's fast. He could, in theory, come out and just take Dillian White out. But when have you ever seen Dillian White just suddenly get taken out in a couple of rounds? Doesn't happen. I don't know how this fight's going to play out. I think we're going to find out if Moses is the guy that, everyone's hyping up, next Mike Tyson, all of that. If the tweets about him fighting Alexander Usyk are justified, if he really is that guy, if he's next up. Or is he just another heavyweight, which is okay as well. He's great, it's good to have great heavyweights from the UK. And we're going to find out about Dillian White. Is Dillian White still that guy who used to knock out Derek Chisora and then go, do all of that, giving us so many great memories as British boxing fans? Can he still conjure up that old magic? For me, it's odd that now we're going into a fight where Dillian White's called the veteran. He's the veteran fighter. When did that happen? That Dillian White's this veteran. He's always been the guy on the come up, contender, waiting for his shot, and now he's in a situation where someone's trying to step over him. And for me, speaking to him today, I think it's lit a fire in him. I know he's playing it down, he's saying, I'm just little old me, I'm fighting Godzilla and all of this, but look at the shape of him. Have you seen him, like the shape of him? So I got the photographer to show me the photos, the green screen. He's got abs. He's in shape. He's ready to go. So he's clearly been training very hard. As much as he's downplaying it, he's put in work and he's coming to fight.
Why should any boxing fan, boxing observer who watched Dillian's last effort against Ebenezer Tete not think of Dillian in that form against Moses Itauma?
Because he needed rounds. He needed them. I'm not saying he held off, but his last few fights. So it was Ebenezer Tete, and he got, was it 8 rounds or something like that? I'm not sure. He stopped him late. Still stopped him. And then Uncle was throwing punches after the bell and stuff. It was mad. But he needed those rounds. He got them in. Christian Hammer didn't really give him any rounds. He sort of found a way out of there after a couple. Before that, it was Jermaine Franklin. So it's been very stop-start. And I would say people are looking at that Tete fight as a reason to say White is no good. I'm looking at that Tete fight and thinking, that's good that he's got those rounds in. Good for Dillian White, because he did get to try a few things in there. Did a few different things. Had a bit of adversity. Uncle was putting it on him at times. It turned into a decent fight. And maybe that's exactly what he needed. So I think there's positives that you can draw from it.
Goes from fighting Uncle to Junior in a way, I guess, and Moses. What would you say are the things for Moses to look out for? The glaring thing would be the left hook that's been Dillian White's signature throughout his career. But from watching Dillian White in his fights recently and throughout his career, what are the things in his game do you think Moses has to be attentive of?
Dog. If he gets hurt, he'll be swinging. And by the way, Moses Itauma's last fight might have helped him prepare for Dillian White a little bit. I know a lot of people are over, like Mike Balogun. Who's Mike Balogun? Mike Balogun came to win. Mike Balogun came with power, and Mike Balogun was swinging when he was hurt because he wanted to win. I think all of those things can be said for Dillian White on Saturday. I think if he does get hurt, he'll be swinging. He'll go out on his shield. I think Moses Itauma's just got to be so alert and not switch off and not get frustrated. And if he suddenly hears ding ding round 7 and it's the first time in his career, he's just got to stay composed, and I'm sure he will. I'm sure he should be fine. But that's what you've got to look out for. The unknown. He's never faced this level of opposition, and he's never faced anyone who has wanted to win as much as Dillian White wants to win on Saturday. And that's from speaking to him. I know how much he wants to win. He was talking to me about he wants to do it for his kids and stuff like that as well. He's desperate to become a world champion, and he feels the opportunity is there. It's just got to come through Moses Itauma. He's very much on his journey too.
The other thing was, I was speaking to Lee Wiley, albeit briefly. Pause. Do you need Dave? Okay. Jumping back in there. Yep. So I was speaking to Moses Itauma's team. That's Ben Davison and Lee Wiley briefly, just off camera, and it was because I saw on Twitter, and Twitter, of course, loves to show you kind of your past and the past highlights, maybe not your best of highlights, and it was a compilation of Dillian White and the times he'd been hit with the uppercut and the result of that, whether it be knockdowns or knockouts or not the best of moments for Dillian. And I asked the team, is that something you identified? And they said, look, of course we know it's an issue for Dillian, but it's not as simple as just throwing an uppercut and it will land. And if you go in to throw an uppercut, Dillian can defend one. Dillian's not susceptible to an uppercut so cleanly and so brazenly. Do you think that's an issue for Dillian dealing with that? And do you think that Moses Itauma has that in his repertoire to unleash something under the guise of something else and get him out of there through an uppercut?
I think he's got everything in his repertoire, to be honest. That's what we've seen from Moses so far. So the uppercut, I'm sure, will be something, the footage is out there for even sort of armchair experts to say, like, oh, throw the uppercut. Oh, yeah, it gets knocked out. But Moses has got a lot more than that. He can throw heavy punches going backwards. He showed that against Mike Balogun. That's very difficult to do. You don't see knockouts like that every day, moving backwards while the guy's swinging and then just chinning him. So, there'll be more to it than just uppercut. He's also a southpaw, and Dillian White hasn't faced a southpaw in like 10, 11 years. So Moses has got a lot going for him. A fast, heavy-handed southpaw with youth and exuberance. So, listen, Dillian White's up against it, but I think he knows that, and that's why we've got this version of Dillian White. Looks like he's in the shape of his life.
Contextually, with the heavyweight division and with Moses Itauma specifically, if he is to get to the victory, the call has been for him to take on Alexander Usyk. Do you think he's off of the back of a defeat over Dillian White, ready for Usyk?
You just got to see what he looks like, really, don't you? I mean, it's certainly. I'm glad it's not my decision. He's in the very capable hands of Frank Warren and Francis Warren, and they'll guide his career correctly if they feel like that's the next step after the performance against White. I'm sure that's what they'll do, but I don't know if there's that rush. From me personally, like he's 20 years old, and there was the whole thing about becoming the youngest world champion. Well, he hasn't. So what's the rush now? I don't know. But at the same time, Usyk's probably only got a couple of fights left. It would be the ultimate kind of passing of the torch if he does get hold of him. But all of this could change with one big dirty Dillian White left hook on Saturday night, and I'm sure that's all he's thinking about.
A big shot is probably something that David Adeleye is thinking about against Filip Hrgovic. Some surprise within the boxing industry that David took up the opportunity to take on Filip. And credit, of course, as well, too, to take that opportunity, but feeling maybe that might have been a the rematch with Jamie TKV, but Booths said that they wanted the bigger opportunities and they wanted to prove themselves against someone like Filip. What do you think David has to do to get the victory over Filip?
He's got to be the best version that we've ever seen of David Adeleye. I think the version that beat Jamie TKV probably doesn't beat Filip Hrgovic. We need to see something different. And I think he's got it in him, because it feels like we've just seen flashes of David Adeleye brilliance in his career so far. Just little flashes, little glimpses. But he knows that Filip Hrgovic is the sort of guy to put a bit of fear in you. Not that fear is necessarily the right word when it comes to Adeleye, but he'll motivate him more than any other. There is genuine threat and danger coming towards him from a genuine top 6-7 heavyweight in the world. He's never had that before in his life. With Wardley, that was probably the last guy that probably made him, okay, this is a proper fight out in Riyadh. I don't think Jamie TKV put that kind of motivation in him. But he's going to need to be very switched on for Hrgovic. I love that he's doing it, because what you're in the game for. He's 28 years old, 27, 28 years old. And previous champions have been world champion by this point. So if you think you're ready, get on with it. Let's do it. I mean, I love the leap from British level all the way up to world level, but he backs himself. He's a very, very confident fighter. And if Adam Booth fancies it, that's a confident team. And fair play. See what we can do.
Nick Ball, the condensed down heavyweight, takes on Sam Goodman. He's the only reigning male British world champion at the moment. So a lot on his shoulders outside of just being a world champion going into this fight against Sam. How do you feel Nick gets on against Sam?
Look, he's the wrecking ball. He's the wrecking ball for a reason. Sam Goodman, this is his first fight outside of Australia. I will stop short of giving you any fight prediction, because I intend on hosting the presser later this week and don't want Sam Goodman to tell me off, or Nick Ball to tell me off. Oh, spoiler alert of my pick there. But listen, he's the guy with the momentum. He's the guy who was the wrecking ball, and it would be a crying shame for British boxing if he was to lose his world title. Sam Goodman will come to fight though. He's never tasted defeat, but he has just stayed in Australia his career. This will all be new for him this week. Nick Ball's been here before. Nick Ball actually this time has spent 4 additional days here compared to what he did the last couple of times he was in Riyadh. Acclimatising, getting used to it. Sam Goodman will turn up here from Australia almost like a deer in the headlights, saying, okay, I've got to do all these interviews today. Okay, what is it tomorrow? Grand arrivals, right? And then you've got workout, okay, cool. And then the press conference, right? And then the weigh-in, right? And then we get to fight. He might be absolutely exhausted by the time it gets to fight night. Nick Ball won't be, because Nick Ball has been here before. He knows it. He knows where to give his energy. He knows how to time his sleep and all the things like that. So, could be a factor. Could be a factor.
Definitely. Let me get your thoughts on a couple of big news topics in the boxing industry. First of all, a lot of talk surrounding Anthony Joshua and his next move against possibly Jake Paul, possibly Tony Yoka. But the idea that Jake Paul could be in the ring with Anthony Joshua, what do you think about
that? I mean, look, I've heard people saying that this is a dangerous mismatch, but we're forgetting that Anthony Joshua's a former unified champion. You know, I'm sure he can handle it against Jake. I'm messing about. Listen, it's business, it's show business, and I will watch the hell out of that and all the build-up. I think it's fascinating. It's just where the sport is at the moment. We want big fights, and that's one of the biggest fights that you can make in the sport. Anthony Joshua against a very famous man in Jake Paul, who does box and has beaten boxers and fancies it. It sounds like he really fancies it. So great, I'm here for it.
Very odd scenario that we would get AJ versus Jake Paul before we get AJ and Tyson Fury and AJ.
Welcome to 2025. This is just the world that we live in right now. But I guess stars may just align for that Jake Paul fight. Maybe Tyson's got all his Netflix and stuff to do, all his documentaries. AJ probably wants to fight at some point in the next 6 months. So what's the biggest fight? Maybe it's Jake Paul. But if Jake Paul's not serious, then I guess he'll look at someone else.
Do you think off of the back of Dubois losing to Alexander Usyk, that might open the door potentially for AJ and Dubois to have that rematch?
Depends how much AJ wants to get back, really. I mean, Daniel's got to come back as well. Is that a loss that eats up Anthony Joshua? Does he think about it at night? What happened that night at Wembley Stadium? He's like, oh, I've got to get him back. Because he was saying things like, I'm pretty sure he said Daniel was shit, like during the fight, things like that. So he probably fancies that he can beat him. So yeah, look, that would be certainly an interesting rematch. I think there'd be a lot of public interest in it.
How do you think Daniel will bounce back from the defeat to Usyk the second time, and the way that the public has kind of reacted to what happened pre-fight and then what happened in the fight?
Do you know what? I need to see him. I need to speak with him and understand him. I haven't seen him yet, so I can't really comment. I don't know. Is he down in the dumps? Is he really, really sad, or is he just brushed it off like another thing that's happened? So it's difficult for me to say how he will bounce back. The only thing you can point to is how he has bounced back from defeats in the past, and how he has bounced back is by going on a tremendous run of form, which ultimately led him to becoming world champion. If he can follow that blueprint, then he'll be a world champion again.
What of the quick remark that seems to follow Daniel whenever he loses a fight? What have you made of people labelling that comment towards him?
I think he's under more scrutiny than a lot of other fighters when a fight ends. I don't think he quit. And you look at like George Foreman after Muhammad Ali stopped him. He got up and went to the corner. That's what Daniel Dubois did after Usyk stopped him. Like, what do you want him to do? Just stay down. When you're ready to get up, you get up, and then you go back to your corner. That's what you're supposed to do. So I think he's just under more of a spotlight than other fighters, and I think that they're wrong. Anyone saying that he's quit. He got up from the first knockdown, and he tried to get up after the second one. This was a big, meaty shot that Usyk landed that hurt him, and that was it.
Feel free to take a sip of water as I offer you this last question, and that is the feeling that both Daniel Dubois after the bounce back and when Alexander Usyk shifts away from boxing and happily retires, that Daniel Dubois and Moses Itauma will be the two leading heavyweights from the UK and maybe on the world scene as well, too, contesting for world honours and world titles. Is there any fighter contender you feel will be in that mix as well too, or do you feel like it's Daniels and Moses to take?
Let's have a look at what Fabio Wardley's up to, because Fabio Wardley is an unbeaten heavy-handed heavyweight who, right next to Daniel Dubois, is the biggest puncher in the division, and he can pull it out the bag. Let's have a look at him. Let's have a look at what David Adeleye does against Filip Hrgovic, because Adeleye picking up a win over Hrgovic is a major statement that catapults him into the top 6-7 in the world. So I'd agree with you on the Daniel Dubois Moses looking like it's them. See what Moses does against DILLIAN WHYTE, but we've got other guys. And very curious to see how Adeleye gets on and Fabio Wardley's next steps.